Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Glad you're here on a Friday morning. Today we're talking about the Armenian School, Armenian Studies, and all things related to Armenians here in the Central Valley, including the promise, including reconciliation. But keep in mind, my friends, we have a new principal at the Armenian School. We'll tell you who it is. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Call in on the program. We have an open phone line. It's Open Line Friday. Back in a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Back here on the program on a Friday morning, and I'm glad you're here. Hope you're staying cool. Hope you're staying out of the heat. And if you can't stay out of the heat, I hope you're drinking plenty of fluids, a lot of water to keep yourself hydrated. Before we get started with today's program, I like to sift through the papers on the internet, but I do, I look at the Fresno Bee too, and I have it right here. But to me, it's really interesting to scan the papers across the country. One of the biggest stories, obviously, last night in the world of sports was the NBA draft, and the Sacramento Kings kind of made out like a bandit with 4 really outstanding players. Of course, we all know who the Lakers got. They got Ball. I know his father spoke more than his son did. I don't know if the father still maybe wants to take on Michael Jordan. How about Charles Barkley called him out and he didn't want to do it. But anyway, besides the NFL draft, hidden in the shadows, my friends, in the back pages, except for the front page of the Fresno Bee, our guy Derek Carr, look at this, $125 million for 5 years. He is the highest paid player in National Football League history. We mentioned this on the program and broke the news on this program yesterday that Derek Carr had signed that contract. Today it's on the front page of the Bee. He is just ahead of Andrew Luck, who was just under $125 million. So Derek Carr, and the reason I mention this is, this is a huge story, my friends. I don't know if people in the Central Valley realize how big this is. Derek Carr is one player who played at Fresno State. Huge contract, okay? Who is another big one? Right now it's Aaron Judge from Fresno State. What did he do with the Yankees last night? Wish we could show you the highlights or the videotape. We can't, but it's Major League Baseball copyrighted. Judge at Yankee Stadium hit one to dead center, which he now has 25 home runs in the major leagues. That leads the majors in home runs. He's on a pace to hit 50 or more home runs. He could reach 60 home runs. Aaron Judge from Fresno State and near Stockton, leading the majors. He's a rookie, and hitting that ball to center field tells me he's still not trying to pull the ball, which makes him an outstanding hitter at such a young age at 25. And of course, we know about Paul George. He wants to go to the Lakers. Who knows what's going to happen with the Lakers in the next couple of years if LeBron comes over. So now you got Ball, LeBron, maybe this kid Ball. So these guys are from Fresno State. Do you realize how big a deal that is? How often does this happen in 3 major sports? Football, baseball, basketball, all out of Fresno State. I think we kind of touched on this on Monday, but I just want to emphasize how huge a deal this is. It doesn't come along all the time. I've been following sports all my life, and I haven't seen anything quite like this. All right, Monday's program, we have, and I know this monologue is going long, but I had to emphasize how huge a deal that is. Monday, we're going to have David Taub. He is from gbwired.com. Also with him is going to be George Hostetter, I keep saying formerly of the Fresno Bee. He's now with the CB Observer, and so they're going to talk about all kinds of city stuff that's going on in the city of Fresno, such as downtown Fresno, such as the baseball stadium, such as the budget, such as marijuana. The marijuana issue was voted on last night. We'll talk about that as well. For now, you're watching us live on Comcast Channel 375. As usual, it's Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning. It is a call-in program. If you want to call in, fine. If you want to sit and watch the program, okay. But it's better if you join in on the conversation, especially if it gets hot and heavy, my friends, like it did on Tuesday. Remember that show? Anyway, if you don't have Comcast, it's 43.6. 13.1 over-the-air broadcast. And at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you can catch the replay at 13.6 YouTube. 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. There's all sorts of stuff to talk about, not only today, but all of next week with our guests coming in. Because on Tuesday, we also have the interim superintendent from Fresno Unified. You know those test scores? Remember the critical news reporting from the Fresno Bee just recently? This week, talking about test scores at Fresno Unified, not up to par, not up to snuff. What are they going to do about it? They're still looking for a new superintendent. They are still haggling on the board. So all sorts of issues to talk about here on the program, and you can vent all you want. Let's get to today's program, and I'm talking about the Armenian school. They're celebrating their 40th, I mean their 40th anniversary out there near North Villa Avenue, just beyond Herndon Avenue. It's right there close. It's been there. Of course, they've changed locations a couple of times, but that's where it is now. That's where it's been for a while. 40 years in the making. I want to roll the videotape, the monologue videotape, as usual. And it's time for a change, my friends. There it is. The Charlie K. An Armenian school. It has been out there for a long time. When I say time for a change in what? A change in principals. They hired a brand new principal. We are going to reveal the name on this program today, and it should be good times ahead for the Armenian school, because not only that, I'm going to tell you something. Just imagine if they moved again. They're looking for a site, but imagine a bigger and a better site than what they have now. They're looking for a plot of land. They're looking possibly to build another school site, bigger and better, because, you know, Fresno has roughly 40,000 Armenians right here in the Central Valley. That dates back decades and decades. And as far as this school is concerned, you've got 110 students. The teacher to student ratio is about 11 to 1. They have a standard curriculum. They've got reading, writing, arithmetic. But if you want to focus on Armenian studies, yes, you can. You can take your child there, focus on other things like English and everything, and they also teach Armenian. Live in our studio right now to talk about the new principal coming up is Marshal Moushigian. He is the board chair for the Charlie K. An Armenian Community School. It's been on that site over there for many years, but they are looking to change and build a brand new school. They have a brand new principal. Who is it? And why is this such a huge deal? We'll talk to Marshall about that. He's an expert in this area because he's the board chair. But also, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're talking about the movie The Promise. It is a good movie. If you haven't seen it, go out and see it. We'll talk about this reconciliation issue because about a month ago, we had a gentleman in here, a good friend of mine, who is a surgeon. He's an Armenian. He's a surgeon. He's also an ER doctor at one of the hospitals, or various hospitals here in the Central Valley. He is kind of leading the charge on this reconciliation between the Turks and the Armenians. Is it happening? Is there a movement? Is it ever going to happen? Will the Turks ever acknowledge that, yes, there was a genocide? These are all issues that are on the table, my friends. So it is Open Line Friday, 436 MeTV, option 11. Do join the program. Back in just a moment.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to digital channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV guide.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
We're back here on the program. Connect with me on MeTV Fresno. It's a Friday morning, and I failed to mention here, just briefly, getting back to the sports segment here that we did in the monologue. I know it's 10 after. We've got to get to our guest here. But I got to mention, you're talking about Aaron Judge leading the majors with 25 home runs with the Yankees, hitting that monster blow to center field last night at Yankee Stadium, famed Yankee Stadium. I got to tell you, my friends, there's a kid by the name of Cody Bellinger that plays for the Dodgers. Ever hear of this guy? Well, you better pay attention because the guy's right behind Judge. He's got like 22 home runs. He's a rookie. He's belting those home runs out of Dodger Stadium. And the big thing about these guys is the fact that they're not scared to hit the outside pitch. It's going to right field, it's going to left field, it's going to center field. That is proof in the pudding that you are a major league hitter. Isn't that right, Marshall?
Absolutely. Got to hit those balls.
If you're a right-handed hitter and you can hit the right field, you're a major league hitter.
Any pitch should be the perfect pitch for you if you're a major leaguer.
So you know what I'd do? I'd just get up and just stick the bat out and let the ball hit the bat, and maybe it would go to right field.
Perhaps. Give it a shot.
Yeah,
when you get the call, you can give that a shot.
I wouldn't even take a swing. I'd just leave my bat out there. You know,
Fair
the
enough.
ball's traveling like 95 miles an hour. It's got to go somewhere, right? If
You
it's a
wouldn't
bat.
lean in and get hit just to take your base automatically?
No. No, I wouldn't.
All right.
No, I wouldn't.
That bruise will heal.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a concussion like Posey got a
No.
concussion early.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got hit in the head. So
Not good.
But you know, it's amazing. I mean, I don't think the people in the Central Valley. I will get to the Armenian theme here of the program, but I'm just astounded that people in the Central Valley don't know how big a deal this is. I'm not from the Central Valley. People outside the Central Valley know what a huge deal this is because we're blinded by the light, my friends.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a huge deal to have 3 guys come out of Fresno State that are playing football, baseball,
Definitely.
basketball.
Definitely.
Okay, it matters only maybe to them because they're making the money, but we're fans, we're casual fans that
Yeah.
we watch these things. But it's astounding to see that.
And they help put the name Fresno on the map when they're up to bat or doing their thing.
Yeah, maybe we'll be the butt of jokes on Jimmy Kimmel or whatever. Who knows?
No such thing as bad press. We'll take it.
That's right. Who is the new principal?
The new principal is Nora Kasajikian. She has been in education.
Okay, slow down.
All right.
Nora
Kasajikian.
Kasajikian. Okay, it's important that I know how to pronounce that.
Nora Kasajikian. I'll say it at least one more time on the show today.
Yeah. Okay.
And she is a dynamic woman. She's been in education for many, many years, both in the public schools as well as private schools. She's taught overseas in China. She has a deep business background in the private sector. She's well-rounded. She's an athlete, outdoorsy type, even knows a little bit of sign language. And of course,
You're kidding.
Yeah, she's
Okay, how old is she?
she is. I'm not exactly sure, but she is she's under 50. Put it that way.
Okay, under 50. I mean, she has all these great credentials.
Yeah, very dynamic woman for sure.
Born where?
She's born in Beirut. Went to school there through about, I think, the 6th or 7th grade. Came to the United States in the early 80s. Spent some time in Fresno and then moved to Los Angeles. She still has family here, which is nice. And so this was a natural.
When you say family here, does that mean Fresno?
In Fresno, exactly. So her coming back to Fresno is a very nice fit for herself personally, for our school, and beyond that to all of our stakeholders, including and especially our parents.
How'd you find her?
Very, very detailed process. When we realized that Principal Czar, who was at the helm for 6 years, was retiring, we realized that the board itself could not just pick a principal. We needed to make sure this was a democratic process, a transparent process, so that it didn't look like we, the board, picked our principal. So we created an independent body called the Principal Search Committee that was made up of 5 members of the community, very, very experienced in education and the administrative side of administration. We developed our standards for our principal, passed that on to them, and then said, give us names. We gave them time frames within which to work. We are on EdJoin and Indeed, which is incredible resources for finding employees, especially in the education field. And so we went through, at least the committee went through about over 80 applications and resumes, and then narrowed that down to about 14, and then sent us, and they interviewed about, I think, 14 people, and then sent to us 7 people for us to interview. And that took about 2 days of time to interview these people, and it happened oddly enough during our first heat wave back in mini heat wave back in May. So we went through the process, very detailed process, lots of questions and answers, a lot of deliberating, a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings, to finally take that 7, narrow it down to 4, and then from there we narrowed it down to 2, and now we have our principal. And the transition process has started.
You sought her out, or was it a combination of both? I'm not quite understanding.
I don't recall if we sought her out or if she applied. There were plenty of people that matched up with our criteria on those 2 particular sites that might not have applied, but we reached out to them. Plenty of people did apply as well. So it was a very collaborative, dynamic process. We didn't just sit back and wait for people. We did our research as well to look to see there's people out there that could be very good principals for us. Let's at least make the contact with them and see if something might come of it.
All right, let me ask you this. It's almost like a question that I have to ask,
Yes.
and I don't mean to put you on the spot because you're a good guy. You're a friend of this program, so I don't want to be too hard on you.
It's live TV. I'm on the spot. Don't worry.
Live TV. That's right. You're on the spot. To get somebody with these types of, her credentials, Nora, to get somebody with her credentials, and she's still fairly young if she's under 50. If she's still in her 40s, she's got a long way to go.
Okay.
So, knowing that and knowing her credentials, she could have gone anywhere. You had to pay her a pretty good chunk of change to get her here, right?
Well, we paid her, that was part of the negotiation process. We set our parameters as to what we were looking for, and she fell within that. So it worked out just fine.
Oh, you set parameters.
Right, we did our
And then
research.
she accepted whatever those parameters were.
Correct.
Okay.
No, we did our research to find out. One of our board members who's been on your show before, Karen Diorian, who is an education expert guru on our board and with Fresno Unified, she, as well as other board members, did our research to find out what should we be paying a principal based on the Fresno standards for principals, both in the public sector as well as the private sector.
But isn't it also based on credentials?
Certainly, all those things came into play when we.
Yeah.
But we had standards as what at least got you in the front door. So if you got in the front door for the interview, you were within the standards to begin with.
Financially.
Financially,
within the standards financially.
Financially, as well as your what you brought to the table as far as expertise and such.
Yeah. How is she as a communicator?
Did a fine job. I've only met her once. She'll be coming back to Fresno soon enough. But she's a very mild-mannered person, but she's very strong in her mindset, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So when
Nice
she comes
balance.
back here, now before I go to break, I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Sure.
You're going to get her on this program, right?
Okay.
I'm asking. I didn't hear
Definitely.
it. Yeah,
We'll
okay,
get her
all
back
right,
on
all
for
right,
sure.
all right.
Well,
See?
what we're doing is we're taking her around the community. We're going to be
Yeah.
introducing her to everybody. We're very proud of who she is, of what we've done as a board to
Yeah.
get her there, and what the school is doing as well.
Yeah, well, you should be proud. You should parade her around and take her over. And she's probably already seen the Armenian monument at Fresno State, which this community should be proud of.
Absolutely.
Whether you're Armenian or not.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Marshal Moushigian is here. 436-BTV, option 11. We'll talk about all sorts of things here on the program today. Connect with me on MeTV Fresno. We can talk about all sorts of things. Call in. We have an open phone line. Back in just a moment.
The following is another list of things you will not hear on MeTV programs. Man cave, baby bump, whatevs, double half-calf mochaccino, faux hog, redonkulous, totes adorbs, hella, holla, YOLO, cray-cray, and MeTV is still Kardashian-free. This is what you will hear on MeTV programs.
Welcome, Benno. The Twilight Zone. About bulls.
I object, Your Honor.
Mr. Grant?
I hear you right. You heard me right.
MeTV. Thanks for listening.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country. The only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
Well, back here on the program with Marshal Moushigian, and I have to ask you, if I didn't ask you this before, because somebody may call in and ask this, so I want to jump the gun here.
Okay.
436, I'm pushing the phone number today, 436 MeTV option 11. Want that number again? It's on your screen, I believe. I can't see that without my glasses. So anyway, 436 MeTV option 11. Call in, ask any question you want. So You don't have to answer this, but I'm going to ask it anyway as part of my job.
Sure.
So what are you paying the principal?
Well,
You like that?
we put out into the public what our range was. Which
Hey, we
was,
know how much Derek Carr is making.
Yeah.
125 million.
Good
Can you
for
believe
him,
that?
and we'll happily take 1/10 of 1% of that. We'll name a whole building after the guy.
Come on, Derek, cough it up. Just 1/10 of that. 1/10.
Yeah, he's a hometown boy. We're a hometown school, so we
That's
can work
right.
together.
That's
And
right.
honestly, you know, he's such a strong believer in Jesus Christ. His faith is so strong.
Yeah.
Obviously, Christianity is integral to not only the Armenian culture, but part of our school curriculum.
Absolutely. So
Back to the question.
back to the question.
the-
You can't say.
Well, no, I can certainly tell you that the standards, the guidelines were between $40,000 and $60,000.
Okay.
That's what we were looking for, and she
Okay.
fit quite nicely within there.
Yeah. But gosh, she could have gone anywhere and taught and probably made a lot more money. You know, like maybe a New York University or
Right.
impeccable credentials.
Certainly, and she can, you know, but part of it also is quality of life. And people come to Fresno and think, you know, the cost of living is so low, I can get from one end of town to the other in rush hour traffic in a half hour. You know, in LA, it takes a half hour just to get on the freeway sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
All right. When okay, you interviewed her, but when you look at the credentials of a person like her or anybody, any of the candidates that you had, doesn't matter who it was, aside from the money, aside from her credentials, why her?
well,
What did she bring to the table other than the credentials? Because a lot of people can have credentials. A degree is a degree is a degree
Certainly.
is a degree.
piece of paper.
Big deal. It's a piece of paper. She has to have the it factor. What was the it factor for you?
Well, we asked a lot of hard-hitting questions regarding from something simple and general as why do you want to be the leader of our school to, you know, how do you build teachers? How do you deal with parents who have concerns about their child or the curriculum or another teacher? And she gave very good answers, very detailed answers, very thoughtful answers.
In regards to
The questions that we asked her during the interview.
give me 3 questions that you asked her to entice her to open up a little bit.
Well, the first one, of course, is a very general question, and that's the one I just gave you, which was, why do you want to be the leader of our school?
But any in-depth critical questions that you might have asked that really brought to light, I think she's the one.
Well, we asked her, you know, how do you know that you are effectively communicating with people? And it's
good
not
question.
Definitely, it's not just
Wow.
sitting across from somebody and having them not fall asleep on you, but a week later,
Like
when
my kids do when I talk to them.
but a week later, when you've given a directive or a thought, or an idea, a suggestion, a communication in the form of leadership, and it's being carried out a week later or not being carried out a week later, how do you know that down the road what you said in the past is still being put to use? And she gave a very good answer on that.
And what was the answer? In other words, okay, trust but verify, right?
In a nutshell,
you have to verify down the road that
Yeah.
things are being followed through.
You can't just say something and walk away. I mean, she is the leader of the school, and
Yeah.
part of her job is to sit in her office and do leadership work, but also to walk around the classrooms, walk around the office and deal with staff.
Yeah.
Integral to her leadership role is to be able to help develop and build these teachers. We have
Yeah.
a new teacher corps at our school as well, which
What was her answer as to how to follow up and verify with students if they've been given a responsibility, let's say?
honestly, top of my head, I don't recall what the answer was. Again, we interviewed 7 people in a
Yeah.
very short time period. But suffice it to say, her answers were very good. She scored very, very high on the matrices that we created to rank our candidates, and she overall did a very, very good job.
Yeah. We have some videotape here at the Armenian school, video that you may have seen before, because
Okay.
you've been to the school probably once or twice, right?
Yes.
I know you have, so just roll any one that you'd like here. And so the fact of the matter is, where do we stand with building a new school? Finding a site, finding a contractor, a builder, somebody to draw up the plans. You have a new principal in place.
Correct.
School starts when, in August?
August 14th.
August 14th. Okay. How far away are we from that process of actually finding a new site, funding the building? I know, follow the money in everything.
Right.
Where do we stand?
A bit of a complex answer, because we have to go back in time to restructuring our school and really taking a hard look at what it is that we're trying to accomplish. If we were just to go out today and build a building, we'd have to do a lot of fundraising, of course, but we would end up building a building that really had no students in it, because we've realized that the core of our school, the teachers, are grossly underpaid. That changes as of this past semester and then being enforced going forward in the fall semester.
There's one of your teachers right there, I believe, right?
That's in our pre-K classroom, exactly,
Okay,
which
all
maxes out. We have 2 pre-K classes, they max out every year.
Is this a pre-K?
It is.
Okay.
But the problem is that our teachers have been underpaid for so long because, frankly, we can't afford that. And so
Right.
what's happening is, one, we cannot hold them accountable. We cannot demand more from them. But also, because they are paid so little, they come to our school, they have small class sizes, and they use our school, in a sense, as a training ground, as an internship, a paid internship, to move on to bigger and better schools where the salary is much nicer. What we've realized is that we've had our building fund in place for about 3 years now, just over $1 million. And we realized, again, if we built a building, did our fundraising, and our teachers were still paid that, nothing would have changed. We just have much more empty space.
All right, so what are you saying?
So we did a very deep, detailed analysis of our income and expenses, especially our expenses, really tightened the purse strings, stopped the outflow of money. And we also realized that we have to pay our teachers more. We can only raise tuition so much, and we do that on a regular basis anyway. But we have over $1 million sitting in the bank for our building fund.
Collecting interest.
Collecting interest and sitting there. And what we realized is that we need to pay those teachers more. And the only way we're going to do that is tap into our building fund. We are investing in our teachers at this point.
And so what you're doing now is using that building fund money to pay your teachers more.
Exactly.
Because you expect more out of them.
Correct.
And so, but they're entitled to get more.
Correct. But also, like I said, one of the key problems for our parents and potential parents is that they don't always know who their child's teacher is going to be the next year or the following year, because teachers just keep rolling in and rolling out.
It's a revolving door?
It's a revolving door, and that ends now. What we've done is we developed various standards for your pay, depending on your level of credential.
Do you make them sign a contract?
We do have contracts in place.
So if a teacher comes on, if I come on board as a teacher, let's say, what do you assign me to, a 2 or a 3 year deal?
They're always 1-year contracts.
They're 1 year. Why not extend that to like 2 years, just to try to stop the bleeding a little bit, if you know what I mean?
From what I understand, that's the standard in the industry. We're not on a tenure system where you're there for life.
Right. But 2 or 3 years is not for life.
Well, the expectation is that you're going to stay, and that's a mutual expectation. If you're doing your job, we're going to keep you around, but we renew it every year.
So you're trying to entice these people to stay with a little more money.
Exactly. And what's interesting, John, is that back in May, last month, we had our 2017-2018 teacher staff in place, already established in May. That's the first time we've had that done ever, as far as I know. That is huge for us. Every teacher that we asked to return, returned. We have 2 new teachers who bring decades of experience, multi-subject credentials from other schools. So we're very, very excited about this coming up year with our teaching staff in place.
All right. There are Armenians that watch this program, I know, because they've called in.
Sure.
So if they have kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews that go to the school, new principal in place, what kind of changes can they expect? Will it be different? And if so, how?
Well, there's just a whole new dynamic involved. Principal Czar did a great job for 6 years, really brought the school up to proper standards with our WASC accreditation, our NIAC accreditation.
WASC is?
Western Associations of Schools and Colleges. Fresno State's a WASC school. Okay. And NIAC is for the education of young children, pre-K basically, and for a third-party independent body to place their stamp of approval on our education and business practices says a lot about what we do, and it says a lot to parents that this school is being run properly. The missing piece was the teachers revolving in and revolving out.
That's been a major problem.
We've solved all the issues that have been brought to our attention by our parents and by other stakeholders to make sure this school is a professional institution. And that started really 6 years ago when Czar became principal, 5 years ago when I became chairman, and our board started to really develop a very professional focused mindset on the professionalism of our school, our reputation, not only in the Armenian community, but throughout the valley.
So Czar was there for 6 years.
Correct.
And she's obviously retired.
But not gone.
but not gone. I was just going to ask you if she's staying on as a consultant or what.
Well, she'll certainly help with the transition process. And Zara's love for the youngest children is just without bounds. And so she's going to be working with the pre-K program to take on that leadership role. She's not going to be a teacher. We have our teachers and our aides for that. But there is someone who's required to be the head of that department, that program. And so she'll be doing that.
Go ahead.
So we're very proud of not only what she's done, but what she's going to continue to do. She's a dynamic person. You know, this last 6 months has been sort of the farewell tour for her. We had a big program at St. Paul, a big farewell luncheon for her at our graduation commencement program earlier this month. There was a big send-off for her. And in fact, speaking of sending off, every other year she takes 5th and 6th graders to Armenia, and they take off tonight to Armenia for about 2 weeks and visiting.
What a great
Armenia.
experience!
Definitely.
Yeah. But as I go to break here, I gotta cut to a commercial.
Sure.
But the biggest problem, I guess, that parents had was the fact that they, the revolving door with the teachers in and out, and then that problem has been solved.
Correct.
Okay, and that has nothing to do with a new principal, of course, and she's going to be there for a while. Did you sign her to like at least a 2 or 3 year deal, or is that a 1 year too?
1 year again.
Again, it's a one. Everybody's a one, including the principal, is a 1 year deal. Wow.
Correct.
Certainly a lot different than the public schools.
Yeah. But all the pieces are falling into place at the right time, and it's a good time for us.
Yeah. All right. Marshal Moushigian is here, and we'll talk a little bit maybe about the differences between, say, going to a private school like this and maybe the public school. You know what's going on at Fresno Unified. We're going to have the interim superintendent in here on Tuesday to talk about some of the problems at the district, because as you know, it's the 4th largest district in the entire state of California, and you think about all the districts they have in Southern California and San Francisco and Northern California, it's the 4th largest. Fresno Unified is gigantic, my friends. It's like a giant monster. How do you control it? 436-ME-TV, option 11. We're back with our wonderful guest here in just a moment.
The Justice Network is here. If you haven't tuned in, you're missing a great lineup of gripping stories of real crime, plus an unprecedented effort by viewers like you to play an active role in making your community safer. You can help support law enforcement by providing information that may lead to the apprehension of dangerous criminals or find a missing child. Great shows and your chance to fight crime, only on the Justice Network.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
All right, Marshal Moushigian is here. 436-ME-TV, option 11. He's the chair of the board at the Charlie Kane Armenian Community School. It's been out there for a while, of course, near Villa and Herndon, and the 40th anniversary. They have a new principal. So I mentioned the teacher-to-student ratio, it's, or student-to-teacher ratio, whatever you want to call it, 11-to-1. So we are going to talk about the Fresno Unified problems on Tuesday. So what's the difference between, say, going to a private school and going to Fresno Unified? What kind of problems, if you're going to the Armenian school, what problems are you immediately going to eliminate from your child's school year?
Quite a few. First, of course, is the class size. As you mentioned,
what's the class size?
The
exactly.
Well, we're allowed
20 students.
We're allowed 20 students per class.
Okay.
But keeping in mind, of course, that with our pre-K and such, we would have to get a variance on our conditional use permit from the city of Clovis, because that would put us too much. But the maximum we would have in any class is 20 students. And in our pre-K, we have aides in those classes, so the ratio there at the most would be 10 students to 1 staff member.
But you're eliminating a whole host of problems by going to, sending your child to a private school like this?
Definitely.
And what kind of problems are you eliminating?
Well, one, again, of course, is the class size. The other is the other types of programs that we have for our students. Now, granted, we have the basic curriculum, Common Core curriculum, reading, writing, arithmetic, of course, but we also have our arts programs. Our visual arts programs are phenomenal, and last month we had a display at City Hall. These kids learn not just simply, coloring between the lines and such. They earn the relationships between colors and space and design and shape, art appreciation, and they think differently. Their minds are becoming wired differently. The other aspect of our curriculum is the language component. In pre-K, it's an immersion program where it's English and Armenian all day long, just mixed in. Starting at kindergarten.
What if you're not Armenian?
All the more reason to send your child to a school at an early age, because you're going to learn a language, and that language learning creates a new system of wiring in your brain. You think differently, you think better, and this
Does
is
your
what...
child have to be Armenian to go there?
Absolutely not.
Okay, and do you have children there that are not Armenian?
We do. I'll say about 5% of our students are not Armenian, which oddly enough kind of lines up with the Jewish schools in San Francisco that I've done my research on.
Okay.
And the same reason parents send their kids to the Jewish schools in the Bay Area.
And Catholic school, too. Not all kids are Catholic. They go to the Catholic school.
True. And that's one of the distinguishing aspects about our school, the Catholic schools, the Jewish schools, is that there is
That's
this...
your campus right there, by the way.
That is our campus, exactly.
Yeah.
Is the faith aspect and the ethics, the morals that go with being grounded in certain faiths. Ours is, of course, Christianity. We're Armenian, so that is the basis of our teachings. They do get Christian education, I believe, once a week. So they do get that grounding of faith, and they do get that focused attention.
Well, let me ask you something, because we've chronicled this, and the Fresno Bee chronicled it several years ago, about the truancy, the drugs, the gangs, the fights, the dropout rate. Are you telling me you don't have any of these problems?
Well, kids are going to be kids, no matter who they are. But we don't have drug problem. We don't have dropout. We don't have truancy. Occasionally, a child is tardy to school. We have policies in place, like any school, to deal with the tardy aspect.
Do you ever have fights on campus?
Not to my, occasionally they get into scuffles. These are
There's
kids.
a scuffle.
A scuffle. There's a scuffle.
Yeah.
I'll use that. That's the word.
A scuffle.
No fights. A scuffle.
Got to do a scuffle.
And
in
they
school
are
today.
immediately brought into the principal's office, and there's policies in place to deal with that.
Yeah.
We don't just
What
let
do you
this
do? Call the parents, or?
There is a chronological steps that we take to decide what happens. First meeting might be just with the principal and get a warning. Second time is you get the parents involved. It rarely goes beyond that.
Yeah. No, I mean, in my day and your day, they gave us a whack or two and then get out.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Now, if you did that, there'd be lawsuits. You'd probably end up in jail.
Perhaps. I tried to avoid fights as a kid. With my big Armenian nose, that's the last thing I wanted to do was get punched in the nose, so I avoided that.
But when you call Johnny in and say, Johnny, you got into a scuffle today, the reprimand is maybe you go stand in the corner or something? Or
you might have a certain
go out in the yard and pick up garbage? Or
taken away from you, for example, recess might be taken away, that type of thing. But what's interesting, you talk about calling the parents in. I've seen these cartoons where back when I was in school, if I got called into the office, the principal's office, it'd be the principal, the teacher, and both my parents on that side of the desk and me over here trying to figure out what's going on. Nowadays, it's the parents siding with the kids saying, why are you disciplining my child? And so we don't have that. We have the parents understand that the kids need to be disciplined properly. There's that structure at our school that parents very much enjoy. It's very important.
Oh, I know. I mean, it was that way in my day, too. I mean, the parents sat and sided with the school officials, whether it's the principal and the teachers. Now, you're right. It's a different atmosphere, a different mindset.
Yeah. Another reason to send their kids to our school.
To most parents, their kids can't do any wrong.
Exactly.
Which is wrong in theory all by itself.
Certainly.
Yeah. So, okay. So as far as the building is concerned, the new school, that's not going to go anywhere anytime soon, right? Am I right about that?
That's correct. It's on the side burner, not on the back burner, but the side burner. We need to make sure what we want to get done, what we've been talking about for years, which is to have a waiting list at our school. We get pretty close.
Do you have a waiting list?
No.
You don't?
There's no reason why we shouldn't. Top-notch education, small class sizes, the Christian environment. And for those parents who are perhaps more conservative than others, I'll put it this way, John. We have 2 bathrooms at our school, a boys' bathroom and a girls' bathroom.
What are you trying to say?
We have very conservative values at our school. And we believe that there's a boys' bathroom and a girls' bathroom. And we don't take these liberal views of how society
there are no
is.
transgender bathrooms at your school. And if somebody filed a complaint about that, if somebody wanted to file a lawsuit, for example, claiming discrimination, you're violating my rights, I'm transgender, I need a transgender bathroom, what would you say? What would you do about it? Because that is a potential target, in this day and age.
Well, we'd hire a lawyer. That's what we would do.
Yeah. Simple as that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And it would go to court?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. We're a private school. We have our standards, and that's how we operate.
Right. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on at the school as far as this coming year. Let's see. You have a summer school program. You have how many students going to summer school there?
We have actually just over 50 students in our summer programs, which is huge for us. We haven't had that in quite a while.
50 students. And
just over 50.
Are these students, is it mandatory to go because they didn't do well the previous year? Or
No.
Or they're going because they want to?
They want to. There's 3 different programs that we have. There's the Camp K, the kindergarten camp for kids going into kindergarten, and that ends in 2 weeks actually. But we also have our regular summer school programs. We have our pre-K summer school program, but we also have our regular, for the older kids, summer school programs, and it's very dynamic. They teach science, PE, 3D printing, coding, language arts, math, writing. For the older kids, the younger kids, they have the basic ABCs, social studies, health sciences, that type of thing. But over 50 students is very, very impressive. We're quite pleased with how that's turning out.
All right, you got a banquet coming up, right? A fundraiser, is it?
All of our banquets are fundraisers.
But you got one coming up, right?
It's going to be actually in the spring sometime. We wanted to do it in the fall like we always have, but with so much of our efforts being
That's not gonna happen
dedicated toward new teachers as well as our principal, it's going to be pushed into the springtime.
Okay.
We want to make sure it's big and done right.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, why not have a banquet before the school starts so you can introduce your new principal, kind of parade her around town?
Well, one thing we're going to be doing is taking her around and introducing her to all the churches for starters. We're going to be having a meet and greet at the school for parents and supporters. We're going to be bringing her on your show.
Yeah.
We're going to be bringing her around and getting her to know everybody. And along that line, when we take, something else that we're doing this year for our school is that, we're the Armenian community school, and we focus on that word community. We are not associated or tied to or dependent upon any particular church, any particular Armenian political party or philanthropic group or think tank. And so one thing that the school admittedly has failed to do over the last 40 years is at least maintain those relationships. And I think we've always thought that, well, we're the Armenian school, the churches are going to support us, and they've got a whole host of other things to be doing besides worrying about a independent body aside from their church. So we're going to be going back to all the churches and reminding them that we want to have those relationships. We want you to send kids to our school.
So those relationships have been lagging in the past few years.
They exist, but they're not as strong as they should be and could be.
Yeah, and to rebuild some of those relationships, you have to reach out to them.
We have to physically reach out to them, and that's something we're doing this year anyway by taking our little show on the road. We're going to the Armenian church fellowships after church, the church picnics, setting up our information booth, making eye contact. We were at the Greek Food Festival last year. We'll be there again this year, I believe.
Right.
Very strong connections with the Greek church and Greek community, of course. And we're going to be going out there and physically making eye contact with people and getting a dialogue and having them ask questions. Tell us what their misconceptions are or their conceptions are about our school that are usually misconceptions about who we are and what we do.
Yeah. All right, Marshal Moushigian is here. He is the chair of the board of the Charlie Cahan Armenian Community School out there near Herndon Avenue, and it's near Clovis, right there. It's on the border of it's.
Our address is in Clovis on
It's
Villa,
in
just
Clovis.
south of Herndon.
Just south of Herndon, but I thought it was kind of like on the border of Clovis and Fresno. It seems like it is.
It's close to the border, but our address is Clovis.
Is in Clovis. Okay.
Right.
436 MeTV option 11 if you want to call in and weigh in on the program. Back in just a moment.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Frigidaire Gallery appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy.
Time for that upgrade to an Energy Star qualified French door Frigidaire Gallery refrigerator.
Quality appliances for the way you live. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Back here on the program, Marshal Moushigian is here, and the name of the principal one more time here before we check out.
No problem. Nora Kasajikian, and she is the principal of the Armenian Community School.
Kasajikian.
Yes.
All right, and that's tremendous. And she was born in
Beirut.
Beirut.
So she has strong Armenian roots, and
yeah, a lot of Armenians in that area.
And she transplanted those roots to one of the strongest places in the Armenian diaspora, which is Fresno.
All right. Speaking of Beirut, speaking of overseas, speaking of Armenia, the trip to Armenia with Czar, of course, taking some of the kids.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the movie The Promise, it's no longer in the theaters. It talks about the Armenian genocide. This thing is still playing worldwide, not in the United States. But if you have Vudu at home, it's on Vudu.
Okay.
Every movie known to mankind is on Vudu. If you want to pay, the $3.99 or whatever it is to rent it. So the movie The Promise, how big a hit was it in this country? And furthermore, now that it's all said and done, how big of an impact did it make, if any, if at all, here in the United States?
It was a huge production. I mean that literally, with a $100 million budget and a star-studded cast of characters involved. The writing was top-notch. The marketing of it was also top-notch.
But did it make an impact?
Huge. If you watch,
in what way?
Because everybody now says Armenian genocide. No one says.
Wait a minute. I don't hear everybody say it. I don't
True.
hear the Turks say it.
That's why this is huge, is because everybody besides them is now saying Armenian genocide. If you watched all the TV shows that had from Good Morning America to Charlie Rose to the whole up and down the line, the press on it as well was phenomenal, not only in the acting and the writing, but the message that it sent about the Armenian genocide.
Did Charlie Rose mention the word genocide?
Yes, I listened for it.
He did. He said it once, twice?
I heard it once. I don't recall how many times he said it. But
how big a deal is that?
It's
He's
a very
like
big
mainstream media.
Oh yeah, he's one of the best. He's been around forever, and he's respected. And just like the crew on Good Morning America and the other TV shows,
they mention the word genocide.
Absolutely. He was on Chris Cornell, who sang one of the theme songs to it at the very end, who sadly passed away, was on. I believe the Tonight Show or Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, he's saying that the press was everywhere on this. The newspaper, the reviews were top-notch on this as well. And in typical fashion, of course, the Turks tried to sabotage it and ended up doing more help to us by, when it was first broadcast in Toronto, maybe 1,000 people saw it in these private screenings. And the very next day, tens of thousands of people are giving this a 1-star rating. So why is this getting all this press? Well, because the Turks were trying to sabotage this movie about the genocide. Now there's more press for us. But at the same time, the Turks had their own movie out called The Ottoman Lieutenant, trying to portray the Ottoman military as some kind of benevolent whatever, when of course everybody knows the opposite. And the acting was horrible. And the reviewers jumped on this and said this is a complete whitewash of history about the Armenian genocide. Huge.
What do you make of what happened in D.C.?
Shameful.
You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
If you want to refresh our memories, obviously you had, and it wasn't a riot outside.
It turned into one.
It wasn't a riot. There were people who were physically attacked.
Definitely.
I'm not sure that's a riot.
I'll give you that. This was people who were peacefully protesting across from the Turkish ambassador's residence in Washington. They were across a street. There were police, D.C.
right
police.
Near the White House.
Close enough.
Close enough
and,
to the White House.
They had their picket signs out, and there were people that were, older, female, not the fighting types, if you will.
Hang on, caller.
And so the Erdogan, and this is on video, the sound was analyzed, gave the okay for his thugs, his goons, to charge them and attack them and beat them mercilessly on the ground, kicking them in the head, in the face, in the stomach, in the groin, beating them.
The reason?
Because they are arrogant and they're narcissists, and they...
No, but okay, aside from
well,
the
they saw it as a
name-calling,
threat.
They saw what as a threat?
People,
the protest?
People peacefully protesting. In Turkey, you cannot peacefully protest. There's no right of assembly generally to protest the government and protest the president,
Well,
the sultan.
in most Arab countries, you don't have the right to protest.
Well, when Turkey bills itself as a Western democracy,
Right.
it's a different story.
Right, okay. All right, caller, you're on the air with Marshall. Go ahead. What's your question or your comment?
Hi, I wanted to ask your guest, Marshall. I'm not from Armenian descent, but would it be possible to send my kids to that school?
Absolutely. The only aspect that's different for our school, really from other private schools or traditional school, is that there is an Armenian history component. You learn about the Armenian genocide, the Battle of Vartanants. You learn about the Armenian culture and community. The curriculum is still the same, but the language component, your child will learn Armenian and be not only able to recite words, but be conversant. What's interesting is that not this past graduation, but the previous one of our students who started at 6th grade, all of our students give their commencement in Armenian as well as English. And she spent 1 year at our school and gave it in Armenian flawlessly. So your child will learn a foreign language. What's interesting is that if they graduate from our school and forget every word they learned in Armenian, and they start junior high, they're going to pick up their languages instantly because their brain, and not only the languages, but they'll be thinking differently. You asked earlier, John, about what makes us different, and I'll tell your caller as well, that it's the arts component. They think differently, they learn differently, but it's a language component as well. And we encourage everybody who's looking for a quality education in a private setting with Christian values to reach out to our school. ckacs.org is our website. You can email us at...
How about calling the school?
Well, you're not going to get a quick call back because it's summertime.
How about email?
Email, you can either email to info@ckacs.org. I would also copy board@ckacs.org. And email us, ask us questions.
Or just go down there, for God's sake.
You can. It's not as active in the summertime, even though we have 50 students, but
yeah.
Check it out. But certainly, we are always welcome to take anybody who wants a private, top-quality education. That's what we offer for 40 years now.
Caller, where do your kids go to school now?
Well, I don't have any kids myself, but if I had kids, could I send them to a school that, a private school such as... And the reason I was asking it was because I heard what the guest said earlier in the show, that you have a boys' bathroom, you have a girls' bathroom. And with what's going on in school these days, I don't want, I wouldn't want my kids going around to schools like that. And what they're teaching kids in school these days.
Right.
I have a coworker. Whose wife is a second-grade teacher, and he told me that the kids in her class tell her these sexually suggestive comments, and she can't do anything about it. The only thing she can do, report it to the principal, talk to the parents. But you got kids that are speaking this way to the teachers, and so the public schools are just getting out of control. And since this private school has Christian values, and that would be a place that I would like to send my kids if I had some kids.
Well, certainly, caller, if you have friends and family that have children,
and nephews. I don't know. You have
let
nieces
them know
and
about
nephews?
it. And financial aid is available, and we're always willing to work with people that do want to come to our school. We have space available. We want to get those seats filled. And to talking about what the caller sadly had to report about this child, as I've said time and again, we're a factory that produces one thing: intelligent and educated, articulate and confident young men and women who are respectful and respectable.
Yeah.
And that's what society needs, and that's what we produce, and we try our best to make society a better place every day, one student at a time.
Caller, I got to let you go because I'm short on time, but I appreciate you calling.
Thank you, caller.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, the difference too between, say, the public school and the Armenian school or any private school, you know, you have more affluent families that are sending their kids to these private schools. So, you know, more than likely, you're not going to have the same set of issues in one family's home that's sending a child to a private school as opposed to a public school. I'm talking about, you know, maybe not having parents at home, maybe somebody's in jail, maybe they don't speak English, maybe... I'm not saying there are not problems with these people that are a little more affluent. Sure there are. That money doesn't erase problems.
Correct.
What I'm saying is there's more of a percentage of these kids that have fewer problems. Am I right?
Well, you know, like you talked about the discipline and the students who might get into a scuffle now and then and that type of thing. You know, and drugs on campus and weapons on campus. You know, knock on wood, we don't have those issues.
No, but probably, I don't even know what the percentage is. I'll ask the interim director. I'd like to know the percentage of the kids that go to Fresno Unified that can't speak English.
Right. I think
that's a major problem. If you can't speak English, you can't learn. English is our primary language in this country.
And they're being just pushed through the system until they get a diploma. They don't necessarily graduate because they haven't learned anything, but they have a piece of paper.
Most don't, not most, but a lot don't graduate.
The graduation rate, I think, is pretty high. And in fact, if I heard on the radio,
it is, but a lot don't graduate.
True, but the proficiency rate is dropping. The graduation rate is going up. So there's a huge disconnect there.
And what are they graduating with?
Nothing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, they're skating by.
Yeah, and how does that affect society in the long run? That's the question. We're not just a school that looks at what we do on a daily basis. We see a broader picture on how we're contributing to society by producing at our factory those respectable and respectful children.
Right. Do you teach the Armenian genocide and what happened?
It's taught generally during April.
To the older kids.
It's taught across the board. I think of the younger kids, because we go to the churches and we do productions and such.
Right.
But
so they learn about it.
They know about it based on their age and what they can take.
All right. Obviously, there's not been any admission by the Turks or anybody from their side, not even our own government, that there even was a genocide.
Right.
1915 through 1923, something like that.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, more than 1.5 million slaughtered.
Well, frankly, it hasn't ended because the denial is the final stage. They're still destroying properties. They're still changing Armenian names. They're still erasing all existence of Armenian.
I need to ask you before I run out of time here, and that is there was this movement, because I had somebody on this program, of reconciliation between the Turks and the Armenians.
Right.
There are Indians involved. There have been trips taken overseas to Armenia, to Turkey, to parts of the Middle East that are traditionally, you just don't go there and talk about a genocide. What do you think about that?
Well, reconciliation, of course, has to happen. It's the final stage of the whole process. Well,
how does it happen if there's no admittance?
That's the problem, is that it has to start off with recognition. That's the first step.
Are you in favor of it?
Of reconciliation?
Yeah,
absolutely.
with the Turks.
Absolutely.
As long as
the steps are followed, that it's truthful and honest and complete as it can be. It has to be recognized. There has to be an honest coming to the terms. South Africa had its Truth and Reconciliation Committee after apartheid. That helped out tremendously, from what I understand. There's no reason why it can't happen here. The problem in Turkey is that for the last 100 years almost, the Republic has taught as part of its curriculum that Armenians, and I think Greeks as well, were bad. They were infidels. They were seeking to destroy the empire, and they were enemies, and they had to be dealt with.
Yeah, it was the Turks, the Assyrians, and the Greeks.
Exactly.
And you mentioned South Africa. That's a good point of reference. What can we learn about what happened there? Really quickly.
Well, honesty is the best policy. You have to want to do something. And when you have a leadership, the Sultan in Turkey, who still just disdains, to put it mildly, Armenians, and the country, its leadership, it's tough.
Television show called The Young Turks.
Yeah.
Hurting or helping?
That's a problem. You can't name something The Young Turk. That's a terrible name to have for a TV show.
I'm not talking about the name. Are they hurting or helping the cause to recognize
From
the
what
genocide?
I know, I don't think they are, because the one host is a Turk, other host actually is Armenian. There's been a lot of confrontations with audience members against the Armenian.
Huge confrontations that I've seen on the internet.
Right. I scratched my head on that one. It's hard to say.
You don't know.
But there's more good than bad being done. That's for sure.
Publicity, anyway. We got 30 seconds left, but I want to thank you for coming on.
Pleasure was mine.
The program.
Thank you.
You're always a great guest.
Thank you.
Articulate, smart, and doggone it, we're glad you're here.
Thank you for having me, as always, and thank you for letting us talk about our school. We're very proud of the Armenian Community School. We're still enrolling. We've made a lot of changes, and we're looking forward to a bright future, 40 more years and beyond.
All right, Marshal Moushigian, thank you very much. He is the board chair at the Charlie Kayan Armenian Community School here in the city of Fresno, celebrating 40 years. See you Monday with David Taub and George Hostetter, and on Tuesday with the interim superintendent at Fresno Unified, Bob Nelson. Have a great weekend.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Explore strange new worlds on MeTV. Seek out new life.
I've seen old photographs of this period. Let's get out of here.
And new civilizations. Boldly go to Mayberry and the Andy Griffith Show.
Weeknights at 8 on MeTV Fresno.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before.